Guys, we've made it to episode 21. Only 1% of podcasts get here. And I want to say thank you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, for everyone that's listened from episode 1 through to this point and have supported me along the way. Because to get to this stage has required a lot of support, a lot of effort from people around, not just myself, to get this up and going to the point where you're being able to see it on the other end. Now, the most viewed podcast in this first 20 episodes before today was my podcast with my good friend Cam. The podcast was called I Was Fucked Emotionally, Spiritually, and probably Physically, or something along those lines. But regardless of that, it was the most viewed and the most well received by every single person. And so I thought it'd be fitting to celebrate this milestone by bringing Cam back on. Today's discussion is a discussion that once again Cam puts me on the spot, and we talk about everything from our visions together through to how we deal with personal circumstances that arise, whether it's in the workplace or whether it's in friendship groups or community. And this is one of the most powerful podcasts I've been a part of, because I now have something actionable I can take away to home that I can implement tonight. And if you follow this podcast all the way through, you might have the next big vision that you can implement tomorrow as well. Anyways, let's get to the show. Welcome back, bro.
Thanks,
You're my first ever recall guest, and I'm pumped because this is episode 21. This is like a milestone for me, because only 1% of podcasts get to 21 episodes. And thank you. And your episode, and the episode that we did together, was the one where I had the most amount of messages sent to me. I had my cousin from the US say, I feel like Cam is the kind of friend that I definitely need to meet some point in my life. I had friends that reached out and said, fuck, what he went through was like exactly what I'm going through right now. Like, I wish I want to meet him. And these are, you're not fucking, at the moment, you're not bloody Tony Robbins. Yet everyone that spoke to me was like, wow, it was so good to hear you talk, and no filter, just being genuine and authentic and honest. So, before I even get into today, thank you for being so awesome on the last podcast, which was episode 3. I was fucked emotionally, financially, and spiritually.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was tough.
That was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough. And you were great. And last time on that episode, you sort of brought us to a point where you said your life at this point in time, after working through all that shit, was a life that had a perfect little balance of spontaneity and adventure. So for those that had listened to episode 3, where's Cam now?
Cam is, well, thank you for the introduction. That was awesome. We had no idea how that first episode was going to go, and I guess we really put it on the line. And like yourself, I had some great feedback, and people reach out to say that was one of the most authentic conversations that they've heard. But for me, I was just talking to you, and it came out not with any real intention to spill all the beans, but I guess just the way that you held the conversation allowed that to flow that way. So I got to say thank you back in return, because it takes a lot to be able to hold a container and hold a space where people can be open and they can talk. But where am I now? Wow. So how long ago was that?
That was best part of 9 months ago.
9 months ago. Things changed. Well,
Things change. Drum roll.
yeah, the coaching business is still going well. We've released a couple of new programs, which I'm very, very excited about. It's amazing what you come across in your journey, because as a coach, the reason I got into it to begin with was because of a profound experience that I had. And I sort of learnt that experience backwards. It happened to me first, and it seems to be, now looking back, a place where a lot of people are trying to get to on their journey, which is a really beautiful, peaceful place to be living in your mind and in your body, with this slight excitement for what's to come in the future. It's really, really nice. But I got there by accident, I would say. And I had no idea what happened. And now looking back, I can see how close friends of mine would have thought, fuck, you fucking lost your mind. Because it was such a profound experience, and there was such a beautiful thing to experience that I made it my mission to teach others the best possible way that I could for them to get to this same state. So the last 9 months, I've been putting together all of the information and knowledge that I have come across, which has clicked or made sense to me, that speaks to that moment. And the deeper I get into it and the more that I uncover, the more I understand, yeah, wow, that was a very, very special thing to experience for anybody. And for me, it's been, in my truth, it feels like it's probably going to be one of the greatest experiences that I would have ever experienced in my life. But it set me up on this journey to go, okay, well, what actually has happened here? How can I go from such a dark place of complete destruction to this beautiful place of peace, clarity, and excitement for life? Like, how can you possibly go from thinking that you're never going to achieve what you want to achieve in life, or you're a failure, you're not good enough, to this place of, fuck, I'm super excited for what's to come now. So I've been putting that together. In a program. It's called Inner Mastery. It's helping people understand how their body works, how their mind works, how to work with their energy. And it gets released in 4 weeks. So I'm excited to share that with the world. And yeah, it's something which is very close to my heart, because you want the people on the other end to receive it, and to be able to get into this beautiful lightness of being within themselves and way of living.
When I spoke to you 9 months ago, it was spontaneity and adventure. Now it's like you're in a state of, excitement of things to come. You're in a position where you're building towards something. And by the time this episode gets released, just for anyone that is listening right now, your program will be out. If it is, because we obviously record and then go live, a few weeks after the release of each episode.
It'll be getting refined for round 2.
Yeah, for sure. And that's amazing, man. For those that didn't listen to the initial episode with you and I, you're a Canberra boy. You grew up. You love playing soccer. You moved to the Big Smoke here in Melbourne. You had defining moments within your relationships, within your friendships, within your social circle that brought you to a stage of coaching. I guess now what I'd love to talk about is, what's happened since. And I'm going to go into a couple of questions that I've asked guests since I've interviewed yourself, that each guest gets this one question, and I'd love to know what your answer is, because this is not something that we asked in the last episode.
Sure.
And the question is this: if 99% of the population was wiped away tomorrow and you were around and they summoned you to talk about something that you think would be a relevant topic based off your skill set and knowledge to pass on to that 1% that needed it, what would it be? And so I'd love to know, if you were to stand on stage and to talk to people, that 1% that was left, what would it be that you'd be comfortable talking about?
If there was 1% left, I assume there's something tragic has happened and it's a rebuilding stage. And I'd sit there, and the first thing that I think would be important for people to hear would be the importance of collaboration and not competition. It's funny how we're so conditioned to be in competition with each other, and yes, some healthy competition amongst friends or amongst an office is good, but to the point where it's becoming a detriment to your life is dangerous, really, and it's really, really sad life to live. So I would be expressing the importance of what collaboration looks like and what healthy collaboration looks like amongst whoever is left. In relation to a shared vision, I think a shared vision for what this looks like, we've got 1% of the population left. What does the world look like then in 50 years, in 100 years, 1,000 years? And getting people to finally work on the same side. Because that's a pretty dire straight, if you think about 1%, there's not much left. There's a big fear in people not knowing what to do. I don't know what my next step is. And I don't want to waste any time taking the next steps. I want to make sure the next step I take is the right one. And I work through it with clients all the time, and they say, I just want to be making sure that I'm operating at the best possible version of myself, and I'm making the right decisions, and I'm making the right choices. And I always ask them, how do you know when you're going to be making the right choice? How do you possibly know? What are you going to see? What are you going to hear? What are you going to feel? And it stumbles a lot of people. They go, I've never really thought about that. So understanding, what are the choices that you want to make, and why is it so important to you to know how that choice is going to pan out?
There's a whole idea of saying that, you don't know what's around the corner until you walk to it. And so for a lot of people, they're too afraid to walk to the corner. They just need to predict. They just need to hope that it's all going to work out okay, rather than taking the necessary steps to maybe realize when you get to that corner, oh shit, I walked the wrong way. But at least you found out you walked the wrong way. Turn back around, walk the other way.
It takes a lot to do that.
Takes heaps.
It takes a lot. I used to think the ego was all about how you look, how you show up. I remember when I was growing up, I played soccer. There was lots of, Eastern European fathers who had the big gold chains. And I remember hearing comments on the sideline of, oh, they've got a massive ego, or they've got a massive ego. But it's not the case at all. And I've come soon to realize that the ego is what is stopping us from going to the corner, because it wants to know how to get there. It wants to know, well, if I go to the corner, how's it all going to work out? And it's such a barrier that we face, because we want to know, well, have I wasted my time or not walking there? I know where I am here. I know how this all works. But I don't know how that works over there. And it takes a lot of effort to figure out how that's going to work. Because once I understand how that works, then I'll be happy. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
And it's like, well, that understanding on how that works is your ego saying, I know how this works, and I'm getting what I want right now. But if I go over there, I don't know how that works, and I don't know if I'm going to get what I want right then. So no one walks the path. Not no one, but a lot of people. They just stay where they are.
Or they have the fear that, because they will move towards something like that, it's like that loss aversion bias. They're currently in this place where they know what they're getting, but the idea of leaving that, the perceived loss is higher than the potential gain, even though if the upside of the gain is significantly higher, because they're so stuck. And then if they make a decision that's wrong, or they're governed by fear, all of a sudden, they think of the worst case scenario, which is they're going to look stupid potentially, or how they view themselves will change. And that comes down to making decisions, right? But if you don't make a decision, it's still a decision.
Exactly. They sit there and do nothing, or you sit there and go and have a peep around the corner and see what's going on. Once you have your first peep, it's the most liberating thing in the world. You're like, fuck, what was I even scared of?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest fear that we face, is like getting to the end and thinking, shit, why didn't I just do it? What was I even scared of?
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You know, you spoke about just previously around competition and collaboration. I think the workplace is very interesting, and this is where, you know, you'll have people in the workplace out there that effectively are trying to go for the same job raise or the same anything. And the idea of collaborating with someone that might be of a similar skill set might be a negative in the sense that you put them up in the same sphere as yourself, right?
So you could give me an example?
Sure. So let's say, for instance, we've got two guys by the name of Shane and Dom. Both of them work as an accountant at an accounting firm. These are fictional characters, by the way. And let's say they're trying to bring in billables so that they can show their boss that they are the bee's fucking knees when it comes to, you know, effectively getting in clients. But Shane doesn't want to include Dom in his people that he brings in, because although Dom might be complementary to helping the client, Shane knows that if he gets a piece of the pie, then they're going to share the effective winnings, which is going to maybe make him partner first. So how does someone then go about this? Because if you look at Robert Greene's Power of Now,
Because coming a bit of a power.
yeah,
struggle.
like part of that is important, because he's like, well, you need to be able to control your power, and you need to be able to know where you sit in the room. And there's the other component, which is, well, if you don't collaborate, you don't grow. And both those things are governed by ego. And it's a common thing that I reckon people go through all the time, is that idea of power dynamics at work. Do you have a particular perception or viewpoint on how people should go about that?
Power's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because it's what keeps us feeling like we've got everything under control. The more power we have, the more control we have. And it's a narrative that we make up in our minds that, you know, if I've got that much power, then I've got that much more control, and it's really not the case. Depends what we're talking about. If we're talking about controlling an environment, sure. But if we're talking about creating a better future, you're coming at it from two different angles. One angle is, how do I let go of a potential win that I could have and give away some power to collaborate? Is that what you mean by that thing? Yep. And the second one is, how can we see a vision which is bigger than what this position is right now?
That's beautiful. Yep.
And it's totally different, because two people are butting heads here, and two people here are going, well, there's way more gold up there. There's a way bigger picture there. And it takes a lot of reflection to sit back and go, well, what's more important to me? And in your heart, when you're going to lie down on your deathbed, what are you going to be more proud of? Like, really, what are you going to think there and go, I'm so fucking glad I got that promotion at work, but I lost that friendship on the way, and I split up with my partner, and I don't see my children much anymore, but I got the promotion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or is there a bigger vision that you can't see yet, that you're not looking at?
I think this comes down to having, like you said, a vision, but also some values. You know, that you always go back to yourself, because if you govern your decisions by your values, then you'll know that even though it may not suit the power struggle, it sits in accordance with what you stand for. And those are the type of things that can help you move forward. For instance, I had a good mate of mine, Jared, who's a podiatrist as well. And I remember there was like something to do with university placements or like a job. And he was going for the same one. But he's like, bro, you should also apply for this. I remember that still. I was like, fuck, he didn't have to tell me that. Man, I felt like I would trust him for the rest of my life with anything, except for whoever I hook up with, because he'll tell any of the boys that. He's a fucking prick when it comes to that, right? I can't tell him that anymore. But anything else, like, you know, if it comes, like, when it comes down to that side of things, like, that's what builds trust. Now, not saying that he may always be that way, and things happen in people's lives where they change, but he is still that way to me now. But at that point in time during university, which was, you know, the best part of 13, 14, 15 years ago, that was something that stood out for me. And it was like, wow, that's massive. That's massive. And, you know, now he'll talk to me and he'll be like, hey, what are your thoughts on like how to make this insole or this orthotic? And we only work one suburb away from one another. And it's like, this is what you should do, bro, in my opinion, or, you know, vice versa.
So you're now more collaborating with each other?
Well, we were never in competition because we collaborated from the start. And I felt that was super powerful.
It took a massive man to say to you, let's go, you should be going for this as well. Like, his vision is beyond himself then at that moment. His vision was for the betterment of whatever that position was going to do for that receiver.
Yeah. And like, you know, it's a lifelong friendship and those things are amazing, right? And I guess I was like, wow, that sits in accordance with a set of values that I agree with in that sense. And I guess you do that for your best mates. I guess some people at work aren't best mates as well. So it is an interesting topic of conversation because sometimes, you know, you do need to have a little bit of grit and determination, but at what cost does that come? You know, if you're relinquishing information to try to supersede yourself, because eventually things end up coming full circle, whether you like it or not. You just might not see it yet.
Yeah. It's interesting when especially if you don't like someone at work.
Yeah.
And you're going for the same goal and you got that in-house competition that it can be healthy if it's managed the right way, or it can be extremely unhealthy if it's not. And keeping yourself emotionally stable as you go through that. I guess everyone wants to win and wants to be rewarded for their achievements and their energy that they put into striving for that position. But in the end, it's going to come down to how you manage yourself. There's a real power in knowing that no matter what's going on out there, it doesn't rock you on the inside. And I think going for the same goal and going for competition is good, but going for it and not getting it and knowing, or going for it and knowing potentially that you're not going to get it, and knowing that even if that was the case, you're not going to be rocked, makes going for it way more enjoyable.
It does. I can reflect on that. You know, when I was playing cricket, you know, you're competing, you know, especially when I was at a young age, and I was I still am competitive, but I was very competitive. And I remember I played district cricket, and I was young, and, you know, I was playing, I think I was 15, 16, playing second grade. And there were other kids and there were other people that were trying to play at the same level. But by talking with the other players, even the ones that you're in competition with, you had the capacity to get better, to betterment yourself. And so whoever got selected was out of your control, because you innately could only control what you were capable of, right? And so you gave the feedback, and then you go out and you perform to your best of your abilities. And still sometimes the thoughts would creep into your head, fuck, I hope I do better than this person. And that's a normal thought to experience. But as long as then you don't relinquish the action, which you know in your soul is the right thing to do, whereas if they're struggling, you can still give them advice or work through with them.
It's that reminds me of when I was younger, I used to play soccer at a decent level, and we were playing for this competition to go and play nationals. And at the end of the competition, they picked the state team. I didn't get selected, and fucking broke me. Like it broke me to the point where, but I didn't want to show it because they picked the squad in front of the whole competition after the grand final. But it made me feel like, fuck, I put all that effort in and didn't get selected. And my dad wasn't happy, my mum wasn't happy, everyone was upset. But I didn't let it break me emotionally to the point where, you know, I was beside myself. They went to nationals and they came back, and the coach called me back up and he wanted to have a meeting, and he gave me a jersey from the competition. He bought one himself, and he goes, you should have had this. This should have been for you. Like, you should have been in the team."
Oh.
Yeah, it was massive. It was massive. And he apologized for not selecting me. And as a 14-year-old boy, it's a roller coaster of emotion, because you sort of knew that you should have been in the team. You didn't make it. They go away. They come back and say, "Hey, we wish you were really there in the team." And it made me understand the importance of being able to understand, I was fucking upset. But I wasn't going to let that decision from somebody else determine how this is going to be. I'm still going to keep playing. And it wasn't until that I got asked to come back, then they said this, that, you think, like, fuck, I'm glad that I didn't just throw it all away after that.
That's amazing when you think of it, isn't it? Like,
you don't know until you keep going and you come back and you're like, God, I'm so happy that I didn't just pack up and leave and throw it away. And I didn't even have the mindset that I have now. If I had that mindset back then, I would have knuckled down 10 times harder, but you don't know these things. And it's reminded me now that whatever journey that I've decided to choose or to go on, you're going to get smacked down, man. You're going to. It's going to happen. It's going to be inevitable. I had a person tell me a good, they're like, "I'm going to describe you. I think I know you." And I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're like, "You're like this car which has been beat up, but the interior is fucking immaculate." The motor is so good and it runs beautifully. It will take you around the world if you want. But there's a few dents and there's a few scratches and a few bumps. And I thought, yeah, that's like, that describes me. It probably describes a lot of people. And they said, but there's this real calm presence inside there. And that is what I want to teach people, is how to get that, because there's nothing, no one can take that away from you.
Mm.
And then it makes going for the job or going for the promotion or going for the business or going for the podcast or going for the dream body way better.
Mm.
Because then like, well, we're just on this journey. Let's enjoy it.
Absolutely. Let's talk about enjoying the journey, because one of the things that you said to me around, if you had the opportunity to speak to people, that small 1% that was left, is you'd work on how to give them a pleasant and rich life. That'd be something that you could help them with. And so for people that are going through their journeys right now, that, we used in episode 3, you were living the life of spontaneity and adventure. Now that you're living a life of, the thing that's taking you forward is excitement of what's to come. And there's a pleasantness and richness within that. A lot of people can't experience that or aren't experiencing that. So what is ground zero to living a pleasant and rich life?
I think, first of all, giving up all of these ideas on what you think it actually is to begin with.
I feel like that's a fucking hallelujah moment, but yeah, absolutely.
Like, fuck.
Yeah.
We've got all these ideas and illusions that we think of, this is how it's going to be when I get there. And it's all BS. And then there's this big notion of be present. Everyone's talking about be present, live in the moment. And it's so interesting that there's this massive society, or part of society now, that are clicking on to what it means to be in the present. And the funny thing is, it's never not been the case. You always have been.
Yeah.
Whether you're thinking about that or you've been remembering that, you're doing it in the moment. It's the way it's always going to be. But you don't know that because you're planning and you're evaluating and you're trying to come up with better ways to do things. And you can get so caught up in your head about how it's got to be or going to be that it takes you to this illusory place that doesn't exist. And you think maybe that's what's going to happen in the future.
Mm.
So for me, understanding that that moment now is always only ever what has ever been anyway, and it's never going to be any other way, was a complete bomb. And every time I think about the future, I know that I'm doing it in the now. And every time I remember, I know that I'm doing it in the now. And every time I go to book an appointment, then the appointment happens. It happens in that moment. So this whole experience is going to be made up of us going from now to 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 now.
Mm.
And all the other nows are ideas that we think could possibly be. Can't wait till I got the six pack, because I'm going to rip my shirt off and I'm going to go to the beach and everyone's going to fucking think, what a legend, you got a six pack. Do you know what I mean? Or look at that body. And it's all a massive illusion. And I think to myself, fuck, where did this conditioning come from? Like, where did this condition come from that you are not good enough unless you've got X, Y, or Z?
Where has this come from, you reckon? Do you innately reckon we're built with it?
I think that we are innately built with this desire to expand. And no matter what you do in life, that's never going to leave you. So if you surrender to the fact that that's always going to be a part of who you are always going to have this wanting to expand and go bigger and do more and try more. That's going to be with you until the day you die. And expanding is not just an accumulation of things, but it could be in levels of courage to have tough conversations and in all sorts of things. I think that understanding that is just a part of you as a human being, and that is how it is.
See, I've always thought, like, we're conditioned to do anything we can to survive. And then when you add environmental context onto that, I think in my mind, that's what creates that illusion, because what you deem as necessary for survival changes as you mature and grow older. So for instance, survival initially is being able to eat, sleep, and potentially make sure that you don't get run over by a car, right? And then you go, well, I can fill these hierarchy of needs. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now to survive is not good enough. I need to thrive and survive at the same time. They're one and the same, which it's not. And then all of a sudden you're playing the game of, well, to survive in this economy, I need to have a fucking house and I need to have a nice car and I need to have X amount of income to survive in this economy, right?
How do you know when you're thriving?
How do you know when you're thriving? Good question. I knew you were always going to ask me good questions on this podcast. I would say you're thriving when you're passionate about whatever you're doing.
Okay.
Passion is the one thing I feel that when you have that...
How do you know when you're passionate?
Because it's an emotion or a feeling that makes you in a heightened state compared to what your normal state is, in a positive manner. It means that the best versions of you are coming out when you're doing the thing that makes you passionate. And by the best version of you, I mean the version of you that, lights up a room, that lights up the person you're with, that is incredibly present in the moment, when we spoke about being present before. This podcast lights me up, right? Especially speaking to you. So it's like, I'm fucking right here. It's like, this is awesome.
So what have you realised in that moment?
That this is a new moment.
No, okay.
Sorry.
And this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. But what have you realised in that moment? Get off the fucking being present thing. Let's get rid of that, because
it was just there for the taking. Yeah.
But like, let's go back to the passion about. You've now realised that your highest self is all the good bits of you are coming together in this moment. and you've realized something about yourself. What is that?
Well,
Because that's when you know you're thriving.
yeah, I think I want to just clarify something like the product of this feeling that is thriving and that is passionate didn't start off as passionate and thriving. It started off as questioning myself. It started off with, not being sure. It started off with doubt. It started off with, insecurities, right? And so sometimes, people say, follow your passion project. It's not always the case. Sometimes that, like playing soccer or footy or cricket, for you to enjoy playing the sport, sometimes you've got to have a bit of discipline and work hard in order to reap the rewards and the fruits of your labor. And so for me, when I envisaged speaking to people like yourself, Cam, I envisaged that it would light me up. But I knew to be able to have the competencies to create a set, to have the timing to get you to talk, for me to be able to ask the right questions and learn how to do that, that took a lot of hard work, and that took a lot of fucking nights of just me trying to figure out what are good questions to ask, me saving little pennies aside to buy the Rode mic for the first time, and then realizing I got the fucking wrong Rode mic.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But I think passion is a product of understanding that vision and hard work is coming together.
Sure.
And this is kind of that for me.
Yeah. Tell me about the thriving moment though. When did you realize it?
That I was thriving?
Yeah.
God.
Like when do you realize that moment?
Well, I think thriving is something where you feel it in the moment rather than potentially looking back and saying, oh, there I was thriving. I don't know. For me, it's like thriving is almost like a verb. It's like I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not something that I am 24/7, but I'm doing it when I'm doing the thing that I'm passionate doing, And so if I look at that...
Can you thrive and do stuff that you're not passionate about?
Well, I think that you can excel.
Okay.
And that's only just my definitions of the words. I'm sure if you opened up Oxford, that'd probably prove me wrong. But in my own head, yeah, you can excel at doing something. But to really thrive for me, the sense of the word is like, I am fucking on fire on the inside.
Yeah.
And it externally is demonstrating that. That's for me what thrive means. And everyone is going to have their own version of that word. But I think a lot of people can excel in what they're not passionate about.
But that feeling of that you're on fire on the inside is something that everybody can relate to. There's been a moment in everybody's life where they've felt, fuck, I'm on fire. All the pieces of the puzzle have come into place and things are moving along smoothly. And this is fucking enjoyable. And they will classify that as a happy moment in their life.
Yeah, because it's like, once again, you're tying together vision, passion, and doing it, and doing it. And that's half the battle. We spoke about walking to the corner. It's like, you got to take the steps.
So what if your goal wasn't to get to the complete, but your goal was to be thriving?
Can you say that again?
What if your goal wasn't to get to the completion of something?
Yeah, sure.
But it was to be thriving?
All right, how would you go about that?
That's the question.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So here's my way of going about it. Firstly, take stock of your life. That's the first thing, right? Because in life, we have different elements of our life that we are, let's say, quote unquote, doing well in and not doing well in. So let's break it down. Health, physical, mental, vocational, spiritual, money, right? Family and relationships, right? So there's 7, if I didn't repeat myself. Now, in each one of those, let's put that into a little pie graph, and we call that the wheel of life. And we go, right, in this wheel of life, which areas of my life am I struggling with? Cool. Make a little highlighter in a certain color. Then you go, right, what area of my life am I going well in? And it might be friendships and relationships. So you highlight that. And then I've always gone, well, right, I'm doing well at that. am I thriving in that? Am I fucking dominating that? And is that lighting me up on fire? Because these other areas are not right now. And that's okay. And if it is, I know, like filling up a cup of water, that will flow into the other parts of the pie graph. So I go, what do I need to do to get that fundamental piece of my life bang on? And for some people, they get wound up with work and they get negative about work and they go, I need to thrive in work. But they don't realize they're going fucking great with their friends or their family or their physical health. And instead, they could pour a little bit more into that, pump it, and let that overflow. But instead, they'll keep that 3/4 full. And then they'll just diverge their energy. And then they just sort of keep at this mid-tier level, right? And so I've always thought, if you can pump an hour out where you are absolutely thriving, it will make it an hour and a half throughout the day a lot easier. It will make 2 hours a lot easier. I spoke in my last podcast about domino effect, and we listened to it with Stephen Bartlett the other day when he said, if you have a domino that knocks over another domino, it can knock over another domino at 1.5 times its size. And that's the way that I view being able to get from absolute provenance of where you're at to being able to get to a point of thriving. And then you can thrive in other areas of your life.
One domino a day.
One domino a day.
Yeah, not That's a Domino's pizza.
Well, you know what? So for the people that are listening to Cam and me right now, we did legs today in the gym. Talking about Domino's pizza.
Here we go.
Oh, mate. And you know, after that session, our other training partner, Benny, reached out to me and he goes, I have no idea how the fuck I'm going to get through today. I need to feel like I need to eat like a horse. And I'm like, my legs are it was a great session. And there's nothing more humbling than training legs. I don't know why I brought that up in Domino's Pizza, but one area that we spoke about was physicality. And you spoke about in your example, this is where I was going, around the 6-pack. Right. So us men want to get a 6-pack at some point in our life. Most of us anyways that have played sport and value that. But at the same token, we get these things like Domino's pizza and ice cream, which is my absolute like weakness, let's say. And although there's a good brand out there called Donata that's come out, I'll get into that at some point. It's very tasty and low in sugar. And there are all these other like lucrative things, right? So we have these things and we have this goal. And as you said in the past, it's sort of like, well, you want to be able to be present and enjoy, but you need to have the combination of that and wanting to achieve a goal. But
it's a nice anticipation for the future.
Yeah, okay.
It's more of a curiosity of what you're capable of.
That's a nice way to look at it.
Rather than you going, when I get there, then I'll be there. It's like, I'm pleasant now because I'm here and I've fucking woke up and I'm like, all right, game on. The party started. And I also want the 6-pack and I want to have the business and I want to have a nice relationship and I want to have good friends. So now let's go and create it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you answered it really well.
Because now we're in an anticipation for what's to come, but we're beautifully sitting here in the moment, doing it all, and it becomes a bit of a game.
Which is where you're at right now. We've gone full fucking circle.
Yeah.
Because your program comes out in like 4 weeks, right? And this is exactly where you're at. So pleasant, but excited.
Yeah, we want people to be pleasant but excited.
Yeah.
Like, I think being comfortable and pleasant are two different things. Because you can be comfortable and you can be sit on your ass and the bed could feel so good and you not get out and that's all nice and comfy. But you can feel it in your body. It's not pleasant if you're spending too long in bed or if you're training too hard. Like you can, when you get out of your mind, your body is talking to you the whole time. You can listen to it. So that pleasant feeling is the untangling of the mind and the shoulds and this is where I need to be and this is what I shouldn't have done. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's having the power to get there at will. Not to live, you don't have to be there all the time. Of course, some planning and some reflecting on what's happened and setting up for the future is super, super healthy. But to know that your internal state is pleasant, regardless, for me, is the ultimate way to enjoy your journey. And it doesn't even mean that you don't even have to wait to get to the fucking top. because it's fucking exciting there. And the journey doesn't become this mountain that you're looking up, that when I get there that I'll be happy. It's like, no, we're here now. Now let's just day by day knock over those dominoes and just see what we can create.
And that is called not being attached to the outcome. Because when you are attached to the outcome, it turns into a mountain. Because you are only happy on the basis of that outcome.
And the outcome's an illusion anyway.
Yep.
Isn't it?
It is.
Like nothing I've ever in my life pictured has turned out exactly like that. For the good one, the good stuff and the bad stuff, it's never turned out exactly like that. Yes, the emotions have been experienced. Yeah, the highs and the lows that you think will come with it, but the picture of how that looks is never the case. I still don't think it will ever be the case. Yeah, I have pictures of what things are going to look like, but I'm not tied to that picture not slightly changing as we go.
Yeah.
It's like a painting that's getting made, but you don't know what stroke you put on next until you push the next domino.
Yeah. I think that's really fascinating, and even that realization for someone to listen to that and to go, well, okay, I understand, and I've heard this before, that, you got to enjoy the journey, right? Not the destination, because the destination, even if it does come, it's like, well, what's next, right? And enjoying the journey means that the destination, when you reach there, might be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you may never reach it, but what has happened in that period of time to you that you haven't been able to salvage or take, with you along the way, because you've been so fixated with tunnel vision on only achieving one thing because you think that will fulfill you.
But the destination is not real.
That's what it's not.
It doesn't exist because you're always going to have that yearning for expansion.
Yeah, and you're always now.
And you're always expanding in the now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the new tagline. I'm going to make that the podcast cover. Now. So how do we get people there, right? So you're a coach, and I help men alongside with you in some capacity, right? Not in some capacity. I fucking help men, get through shit with you, right? We do that as work. What is it that you think are sort of maybe 2 or 3 things that we can help people with right now that if they go, look, I'm so bloody goal orientated, I'm so fixated on the future, I can't fucking enjoy the now. Like, how can I enjoy the now when I need to be there?
Yeah, how do you untangle the mind?
So what are the 2 or 3 things that we can do to untangle the mind to make sure that every day you wake up with exactly as you said, smile on your face, you're up and about, you're excited for what's to come?
Yeah, it's the great mystery of life, isn't it? It's like, how do you untangle the mind and live pleasantly now? For me, I guess I was always a person that said, I can't meditate. I don't know how you sit there and do it. And now I meditate every day, but still some days I'm not meditating. Like, the mind is going, I need to do this today, I need to do that today. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it being able to travel and then me being able to bring it back. I think when we're not okay with it, we're fighting it, we've got the resistance against it. So understanding for me was, don't have the resistance against bringing the thoughts back. You just are observing that they're gone. And they're gone in the now. Do you know what I mean? Having a laugh with it.
No.
It's like, fuck, it's like, yeah, they're gone in the now. Like, they're having the mind's playing a game now. It's having us on. And that's when I start laughing at it. I'm like, fuck, isn't this interesting that the mind is going to some made up place that I think might be real, but it might not be real. But I'm thinking about it now. And
it's creating a feeling now. And I'm like, fuck. So anyway, it's that constant coming back. And like a muscle, just practicing. You don't have to sit there in a state of complete no mind, like no thought.
But just being able to have the power to come back relieves all that resistance and all of that pressure and all of that thinking, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. It's like you can't. You just decide that you can bring it back now.
So effectively, have you got any tools in your toolkit that allow you to to be able to come back into the present moment? Because you said that's one of the things that allows you to untangle your mind, right? Is to go, righto, I'll allow it to wander like a dog in a park, but eventually I can go the lead out and bring it back and just come back to where I am right now.
Yeah, well, we're not coming back. We're already here.
Fuck!
We're not going anywhere. You can never go anywhere from here.
Yeah.
Full stop. End of conversation.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck you want to say, you cannot go anywhere bar from here, and you never have and you never will.
Yeah.
But when the mind goes there, then you're like, oh, the mind's gone there, here.
Yes, I understand. This is like the fucking inception of podcast, bro.
Bro, it's profound. Because with that knowledge, you're like, holy fuck, yeah, the mind is traveling. But it's traveling in the moment. In the now. And then you go and do something, and then it will travel again, but it's still traveling in that moment.
If anyone's watching this podcast, they'll see I've got a sty, which is like I've got inflammation in my left eye. I reckon it'll slowly be getting bigger during this fucking podcast. It's like mine's sort of expanding as we're talking.
So anyways, so what I do is I fucking laugh at it sometimes. I laugh at all the stuff that it makes up. And I think, sometimes I just shake my head at myself. I'm thinking, well, what was the point of going that far, you know? And making that stuff up, like, it's really not serving me. But real simple, like, go back to basics, like, bring your breath back.
Yeah.
Have a deep breath, fill it up as much as you can, let it out as slowly as you can, and then just look up. Just look up and look around and notice everything around you in that moment, and just repetition. And like being able to walk around without looking at your phone for a couple of minutes is massive. You ever just walk around and look around at what's happening? That the fucking lights got turned on. And we're so used to going, what do I got to be next? What do I got to do next? Who I got to answer to next? Got to do this, got to do that, got to do that, got to do that. So then when I lay my head on my pillow and I'm dying, I'm so happy that I had the best life.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, I think what you were trying to say there is like, if you're doing everything in your calendar and you lie down on the pillow, have you had the best life because you've been trying to tick every box, or have you been able to, take salvage of where you're currently at any given point in time?
I guess are you running the show, or is the show running you?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's a simple way to put it.
Like, fuck, imagine getting to the end of your life and realizing that this device in your hand, and they're like, all right, we're going to show you your life flash before your eyes now. And it's just you looking down at your phone.
What a powerful image. Could you imagine that? Like, you're looking back and you get like a rewind, it goes, and they put your life into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
Right? And imagine looking at it and you are looking at the phone for half an hour of that movie. You are sleeping for half an hour of that movie. It's like...
Is that scary?
It's scary.
It's scary, hey?
It's scary. And it's not to say that we don't involve digital devices in our world, because it allows us to be able to have things like these catch-ups and podcasts, right? Like, because I can text you and you can message me, I'm at the front. But when it's ruling your world versus when you're doing the other way around, where you're controlling it, is very, very different.
And don't get me wrong, I have that not under control at all. But it's one of the most prominent things in my mind that I want to break free from.
I wonder if we can create like an outsourcing business for people that need just someone to monitor their phone for them.
Break up with your phone academy.
Yes, I don't know. Like, I just think that there is such a level of attachment to the phones and what, the immediate response you get off your phone is. But I don't want to get on a digital conversation, because I feel like those conversations,
They can just go.
yeah, and I think people know what the outcome of that is. I love the idea of exploring tools that can help people. And so one of the tools you mentioned was breath. I like the tool of writing the night before in a journal. And I've said this on previous podcasts, but for me, it's like, okay, I'll look at the foundation of me thriving, and I need to have the right ingredients matched up in order for me to make sure that, I can be present in the moment with someone like yourself, and I'm not worried about what I have to do in the evening, or I'm not shitty at a podcast that I did previously because I said the wrong question. And so one of the practices that I found super helpful was going, right, what are the things that weigh me down or hold me back in my thoughts, and make sure that I know what they are and I list them all down. And then also making sure that I cross out what I can't control. And then also saying, what is the product of my environment, and what are the people I need around, and what are the things that I need to do for my gut and my health to make sure that I optimize where I'm at right now. So for us, it was going to the gym this morning, except for our friend who ended up going to a meeting with wobbly legs and a little bit dazed.
Benny.
It lit us both up. Yeah. Having good food in the middle of that, having written down the night before and preparing for this podcast today, meaning that I'm not jittering around my words so much when we're talking. Those are the little tools that people can use. And if you set up your day maybe, and give yourself space to set up your day the day before, just in terms of, and this is only my opinion, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, but just so that you know what's ahead to some extent, then you can flow, because
I think we put a lot of pressure on the tick boxes. Like, oh, this has got to happen, it's got to happen, it's got to happen. And having a to-do list you can tick off is one of the most fulfilling things that you can work through, especially if it's manageable. But it's also nice to be able to have a bit of leniency in terms of, I've got a dream day that's panned out, which is super aligned with the vision that I have for myself. And if I do these things, it's taking me closer. And sometimes we don't do it, or we trip up and we think, fuck, I've really let myself down, or I'm not performing the best I could possibly be. Say you're running and you're only running 2 days a week, but you want to be running 5 days a week, whatever it might be. You're focusing on what you're not doing. And I think allowing yourself to think more along the lines of, wouldn't it be nice if I had a day which was completely aligned with the vision that I have for myself? And just letting yourself sit in that and see how your day pans out. Because we go from focusing on, well, instead of me going one by one, this is what needs to happen, you know that your highest nature will get all those things done, or will get the most important things that it needs to do to take us to its ultimate experience of you realizing yourself. So wouldn't it be nice if the food that I ate today was aligned with that? Wouldn't it be nice if the way that I conducted myself in the meetings at work was aligned with the vision that I have for myself and how regulated they are with their emotions? Wouldn't it be nice if I was focused for an hour or 2 hours today without any distractions? And it's interesting because you're going to be put in front of those situations throughout your day. Do I have this to eat, or do I have this to eat? Do I do the work here and I put my phone there, or do I do the work here and I put my phone in the cupboard? And you're going to start thinking to yourself, wouldn't it be nice if that was the case? There's going to be this natural pull for you to want to do the best thing for yourself. And by you ticking off this massive to-do list and failing, and then constantly thinking every single day, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. For me, that's not a pleasant way to live life. I believe that we've got a vision, we're going towards a vision, and we've got to trust ourselves that it's taking us there. And there are certain actions and behaviors that are aligned with where that's going. And I like the feeling of that. I like the feeling of what that vision feels like, what that looks like. And I will know that when I do stuff which is not completely aligned with it, then I'll feel like, yeah, this is something that needs to shift here or change. Scrolling too much on the phone. Massive. How many times do you grab your phone and you like, what am I doing on my phone? I'm on my phone too much.
All the time.
You can feel it. You say it to yourself all the time. Like, you are communicating with yourself all the time. It's just, we're not listening enough.
I think it's also a matter of going, well, if, if you've looked at like a stock market sheet and you see the hourly wicks and you see the weekly wicks and you see the monthly wicks, and sometimes you can see, oh, the last 24 hours the stocks have gone down. But if you zoom out and look at the last 7 days, oh, it's actually on an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
And so if you live your life via tick boxes, we constantly have this feeling of like looking back at what we haven't achieved. But if you can zoom out, you can go, oh, wow, we're on the right trajectory. And so one of the things that you mentioned about obviously moving towards that trajectory of, a positive way is through understanding what your vision is. Now, vision has been absolutely, I guess, explained to the wazoo by every single health, mindset, physical performance coach, you name it, business coach, business vision, personal vision, mission, values, everything like that. Is there an easy way that you can explain to me what vision is and how someone can construct their vision?
If you were given a pen and paper and someone said, I want you to write down, just get real curious about, here's a pen, here's a paper, whatever you're going to write down could potentially happen. What would you write?
Is this one of those bits where I ask you the question, then you question me back again?
Well, I'm just like,
Okay.
It's something for people to think about at home. Like, you get a pen, you get a piece of paper, and someone says, all right, go for it. What do you want for yourself?
Okay, so let's do it right now. So I've got a pen and I've got a paper.
Yeah.
So what do I want for myself?
So, yeah, what do you want for yourself? What do you want for your physical body?
Okay, so for my physical body,
Yeah.
have you seen the movie Captain America? Do you know when the guy goes into the chamber and then they put all that shit into him and he comes from this small little like soldier into this mammoth?
Yeah.
Like, that's for my physical body, that's how I'd love to look.
That's how you have to look. Cool. Write it down.
Righto, Captain America Steve.
Yeah.
Got it. His name was Steve Rogers. There you go.
How do you want your body to operate in terms of flexibility?
Mobile. Like, I played pickleball the other day, right?
Yep.
Not the other day, a little while ago, and my knee joints felt like rust. So whilst I want to have that body, I'd love to be able to feel like I can still move around like a spring chicken.
Sure.
So
you
I
make
put
sure
spring
your
chicken.
ligaments are nice and stretchy and everything's well oiled.
Well oiled would be correct.
Well oiled.
All right, well oiled. Okay.
Okay. What about, when we get older, gravity has its pull on us and we start seeing the old grandfather and grandmothers, known as whatever you want to say, and the hunchback. For me, I don't want to have the hunchback. I want to be able to stand straight until I drop dead. But for you, what does it look like when you're 70 or 80 in your body?
Physical body?
Yeah, what does your body look? What does it feel like?
The first thing, I don't know why, it's my teeth. I've always loved having good teeth. I was lucky to have them, but like big smile,
Yeah.
shoulders back, still like wiry.
So your posture?
Posture is very important.
What is the posture?
Posture's chest is proud.
Okay.
Chest is proud and face feels light.
Cool.
That's the physicality, and obviously, yeah, still toned, but that would be how I envisaged it.
Sure. So with everything that you've written down now, there's certain actions, behaviors, and things that you would do that would be aligned with that.
Yep.
That's the vision you have for yourself. So you're going to eat certain foods, you're going to do certain activities at the gym. They're going to get you all of that. You're going to focus on your stretching if you want to be flexible. You're going to focus on your posture because you know that's what you're creating. That's what's important to you. There's going to be people who have different visions for themselves. That maybe someone wants to still have nice posture, but they want to be a ballerina. They're not going to the gym and smashing the weights like you are, and they're probably going to eat different food. So it's really about aligning what you can do right now with whatever that is.
And so does that mean you can have multiple visions for your life? Do you know, because I think everyone tries to have this one concise vision, but the way you've just articulated it then is that maybe you can have visions for different areas. Like I spoke about the wheel of life. You might have different visions for family, health.
You can, but there are certain things that don't change in your life.
Okay.
Your body doesn't change in your life. You're always going to be in your body. You're always going to have your body. Okay, so you're always going to have your body, no matter what relationship you're in or what career you do, you're always going to have your body. So how do you want that to operate? If you're living inside this vehicle, what do you want it to be able to do for yourself? That's rule one. Then it's like, okay, well then you've got this supercomputer that people talk about. You've got this mind, which is way smarter than any computer that's been developed on the planet. How do you want that to work for you?
Quick.
You want it to work quick?
Quick.
Sure. Do you want it to be supportive or not supportive?
Well, supportive, but in terms of like, I'm just thinking out loud here. If you wanted for me to know what how I'd like to operate in the mind, it would be quick-witted. And that was because I really struggled with that growing up. I was not quick-witted. I could not, and not saying I'm super quick-witted, but I'm pretty good now. I can run a podcast, so I guess you have to come up with stuff quickly, right?
Yeah.
And so when I didn't have that, I was wildly insecure and super in self-doubt. Like you see those people that are out there, this is how I felt when I was younger, and you say something and like a Jimmy Carr, that one-liner would just come straight out.
Yeah.
You're like, how the fuck did they do that?
Yeah.
It'd be so good because that is like, you know, your capacity to wax on, wax off. You can shield anything away from you. Or you can just converse and have great humor and laughter and bring joy to your life because you have the ability to be quick-witted. You can be trusted more if you're able to come up with an answer quickly. There are so many benefits of being able to be responsive. So that's why I really like that.
Cool. What else?
With the mind, well, I think having the capacity to be clear and be open and still like not an overthinker, which I've always been in the past. So being able to just almost take things down into more simple form and being clear and just being able to do whatever I need to do at that time and knowing that full and well I can trust whatever else needs to happen.
Clear and quick.
Clear and quick.
Anything else?
The mind's such an interesting one, man. We could go on it for days, but...
Just give us three.
Okay, third one. Clear, quick, and...
We've got three for the body, three for the mind.
Yeah. Clear, quick. The word is not the right word, but it's like developing. So I don't want to think that at that older age, I'm still not developing the mind to be more capable. Because like you said, if you just got a mountain approach and you're trying to get to the top, it's not the best way necessarily. So if you're still developing as the world and external environment around you changes, I think that's a very good trait.
Clear, quick, and constantly developing. You'd be happy with that?
Yeah, very happy with that.
Cool. Write it down.
This is a coaching session.
I wouldn't say it's a coaching session. This is... It comes with a bit of common sense in the end, but we're not taught this stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so tell me like about your energy that you got to live with all throughout the day. How do you want your energy to be?
Thriving. Now, how do I want my energy to be?
Mm.
The word upbeat comes for me. That is like the moment you shake someone's hand, like when you came in through the door, right?
Mm.
I was, and this isn't necessarily right by me, but I was way more upbeat shaking your hand today than any other guest that walked through the door.
Mm.
Why? Because we've developed a relationship.
Yeah.
And so for me, my energy, I would love to be around the people that I care for and also always new people, but upbeat just feels
Upbeat.
good.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Is there anything else?
In terms of energy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Connected.
Connected?
Yeah. Connected inside and outside. I think that's really important. And what I mean by that is, we had a guest on that went and did a sound healing journey the other day. And that guest, Mark, he spoke about, he was like, holy shit, I was just so connected. I could almost see myself from a different vantage point. And that idea that his internal and external was all working within one beautiful symphony was something that I think is great. So when you feel that, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
You're walking around with just this like vibrancy. So connected, long-winded version of saying that.
Yeah. Beautiful. One more.
I hope you're writing it home, whoever's listening to this. This is good stuff. Upbeat, connected, and energy. The word flow, and the reason why I say flow is that's not how I feel, but it feels like I want to have the capacity to utilize up and down gears. And so you're not always just going to be upbeat. I'm not going to fucking rock up to a funeral upbeat. Okay.
Yeah.
So to have that emotional intelligence to flow and to be able to protect your energy as well is super important. So you don't overexpose how much you sometimes give, I think is really vital. And I reckon, there's a lot of us that overexpose our energy to the point where, it's not flowing, it's just being given out. And I think that's really important. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing that we have this little chat about what your vision is. And we could talk about the cars and the houses and the experiences and all of these things. And in the end, that's all stuff that is outside of ourselves. Everything that you have mentioned is inside of yourself. And it's something that you have the option of choosing to live with from now on, or figuring out how to get more in alignment with that.
Wow. When people have asked me the vision stuff in the past, it's always been like, if I were to picture it, it was like all my best mates living in the same neighborhood, like the old days, where I could knock on your door and I could say, can you please take my kid for 5 minutes whilst I run to the grocery store? And then you tell the kids to stop mucking around on the television, to go outside and kick the fucking footy. Otherwise you'll never be able to play AFL. And, that's the way I've always pictured it, right? But once again, that's not necessarily, that's an illusion, right? It'd be lovely, but...
It's a great idea.
Great idea, but...
And that will give you a lot of that. Because you know that in that vision, in that illusion, you're going to be in a certain state.
Yeah.
And that is what's come out of you. You want to be upbeat when you choose to be. You want to feel connected. You want to feel in this sense of ease and flow. You want to be clear in the mind. You want to be quick-witted. That sounds like you guys are having beers on the street. Do you know what I mean? Other kids are playing footy. But it's interesting because we have these visions about what it is that we want, and it's going to bring me this. And up until that point, I can't actually possibly be that.
Yeah.
Which is BS. Because you're not describing, if we're talking about those three things, which they never leave you, your body is never going to leave you. Your mind is always there, and your energy, you're living in it. But if you can learn to make it work for you, then your ride is a totally different ride.
That is a very different ride.
It's a very different ride, man. It's a way different. It's such a beautiful strength to have that nobody can take anything away from you, because you've now developed the understanding of how to make all that work together.
It's so hard, Cam. Like, everything you said is bang on, and still sometimes you have that like, oh, fuck, I'd really like a better car. You know, and it plays on my mind, because it's like, well, I drive a Honda Civic, right? Right now, I'm not afraid to say it's baby blue. We call her Barbara, right? It's my mate's mum's car, right? And that's because of a number of reasons, which I'm not going to talk about. But I'm like, fuck, that'd be nice. And I envisage that, yeah, I'll have a really nice, beautiful Audi sooner rather than later. And you hear about the law of attraction, and you can attract that. But, you know, when you talk like this, it's sort of like, well, okay, like, if I'm creating a vision board, should I be putting the Audi there, or should I be going, like, putting these words in beautiful colors there?
I reckon you should be putting it all there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with fucking driving a fast car that feels awesome.
Yeah.
For sure. There's nothing wrong with having a beautiful home that you've worked hard towards, and you like have everyone over to, you know,
Celebrate,
and you can host that. Fucking oath. 100%. But your worth is not based on that. And we really want you to be going, well, from this day forward, having all of that is a moment in time that I can call that's a happy moment. I'll be happy when I get that. And every moment that you've had where you've experienced that happiness, you have simply just gotten what you wanted.
Yeah.
That's why you're happy. You go, fuck, I got what I wanted in this moment. I'm happy.
It's like getting a Christmas gift.
Getting a gift, having a child, getting the car. And you're like, in that moment, that was a moment of happiness. So if you understand that your happiness is based on you just getting what you want, and then you're deciding what do you want now, and now, and now, and now, and now, and now. You can't decide those things because they're not here. You can work towards them, but they're not real. That's stuff that you can decide to have now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
And it's not stuff that we go, well, I've surrendered to all that shit. That's the exciting part. Is like going towards it.
Yeah.
Like, how epic. Like, I'm improving my mind. I'm feeling more connected. I'm working on my posture and my confidence. I'm feeling more upbeat. Like, how epic that you're now creating this version of yourself that you get to live in every day. And that, to me, is a life well lived. It's like you've given conscious thought about how you want to be, how you want to be in your energy, how you want your mind to work for you. And yeah, you've got some beautiful dreams and some visions that we're going towards. But you also know that on the way there, this is what I've chosen to work for me.
What a beautiful full circle. You know, when we think about how we started this podcast, you know, around you moving towards something, but still feeling like that you are living a present and rich life whilst being excited for what's to come. And I feel like you've sort of given everyone an answer based off the way you've questioned me on how you've done that for yourself. And I think that's really powerful because, you know, and the reason why I asked you, could I still go for the car, is because there are still people that want to be able to do things. Like, you still want to have the program being a success.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
And the byproduct of that is connections, money, certain things about building yourself and growing.
New experiences,
all that stuff.
People you haven't met yet. Super cool.
Super cool, right?
Yeah.
But I think it does come back down to understanding that you can combine the two and not feel guilty about combining the two.
Yeah, don't feel guilty. Feel excited.
Feel excited about that. You know, if you want to have the super yacht like Conor McGregor, that's all right, man. Fucking
get
good at it.
Yeah.
UFC 303, what the fuck? But anyways, but at the same token, it's like, hey, understand that vision or that illusion that you've got, there might be well and truly the way that what gets you excited, but the path to getting there is you should do everything in your power to be the best version of yourself and enjoy that ride and enjoy the different ride.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't know what the ride is.
Yeah.
We don't know. Before I came on this podcast, I had no idea I had a brief idea what we were going to speak about. We had no idea how it was going to come about.
No. But this is why I love doing podcasts with you, because I knew, like when we spoke about it, we had a couple of little dots that we'd throw in the air. But, you know, I don't even know how long we've been recording for, but the last podcast we did went for 1:40, which was the longest and the most viewed. And this one, I think, will be something where if people have listened to this point, they would have got immense value of.
I remember my mate said, "Oh, you fucking lost your mind." This was 5 years ago. And you're questioning yourself, fuck, have I? Where are my thoughts gone? Why am I fucking not overthinking shit? And it's the best fucking thing that's ever happened, hey? And it's given such clarity, and it's something that we all, no matter what you do for work, where you're from, where you live in the world, what experiences you've been through, we all have the ability to get there. And when we learn to go inwards, like they say, go inwards, and actually evaluate what's important, and then start living in alignment, you will feel it in your body that this is right. If you were to act from this moment forward in alignment with that, I guarantee you, you'd be fucking skipping with joy.
Cam, thank you for coming on today. You know, every time that we speak, I do feel upbeat. I get excited. People that may have listened to other podcasts and me talking with you, I'm always like G'd up. And also because you're one of my really close friends that I see probably just about more than anyone else, you know, and it's exciting that we can share this together, this little platform together with you and me, because I feel that our conversations are just like the conversations we have off camera. You know, we do sit down and we do talk deep. And I think it's incredibly rare, but it's something that every friend should strive for, is finding a mate that they can have these conversations with. And if anything from this podcast, hopefully it inspires people to start to go a bit deeper into these conversations, because I'll go home tonight and I'll bloody create my little vision board and go, okay, put those in there alongside with that.
Yeah, that's how you're getting there.
That's how I'm getting there.
Yeah.
You know, that's the fuel.
That's the fuel.
Yeah. And don't be tied to the result, but just know that the fuel is one hell of a ride.
Yeah.
And it's fucking exciting.
It's a party. It's where the party starts, mate.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to come here and chat. I feel like we open these boxes and they just more gifts keep coming out. For those who don't have people to talk to, and they feel like one of the biggest things for a human being is realizing your potential, and not everyone has realized it really. So it can be quite a lonely place for people. So if you are feeling like, fuck, I can actually see a vision for myself, which is more enlivening than what I'm living now, then make sure you reach out to either Steve or myself so you can be in that environment. There's so many groups that are doing amazing things out there at the moment, and you need to understand that you need to make a decision to start stepping into that creator of yourself, and getting backed up with people who will support that. And by getting a good friend like yourself, I remember I said to you, oh man, this is the body that I want to create this year. And you're like, fuck it, fine, I'm going to hold you accountable. If you just get one of those mates or a partner or whatever, and you voice to them, this is what I want, you're all sweet. You only need one person. And then I think it's going to make these milestones and these achievements and this journey way more enjoyable for you.
Absolutely. I look forward to the next podcast, man. Well done.
Excited. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, bro.